I honestly, I don't know how. I mean, I truly believe that the space that you find amongst the crowd and yourselves and all that inner and inter beauty, there's got to be days where I don't know how you put your foot on the step of the bus because you know you're going to be in there for the next 8-12 hours. I don't know how long you're on a bus, but I know that. So I know it's not easy, you know, for that hour and a half a night or whatever the time frame is. So, man, to lift that foot off the ground and go.
It's you know what, it's a different kind of life for sure.
Yeah, sure.
And there was a great quote by, I'm not sure if it was someone in AC/DC or someone in Cheap Trick, but you know, someone who's been phenomenally successful, saying they would do the 2 hours on stage for free. What they want to be paid for is the other 22 hours of the day.
Right.
And what they mean by that is that touring is hard work, you know? Yeah. It's exhausting, and you spend a lot of time on a bus, you spend a lot of time waiting in an airport, you spend a lot of time, you know, things that initially are really exciting, and then like anything else in life, you get kind of immune to it. Mm-hmm. But the playing part, to me, always justifies the other stuff, you know? Because, I mean, this is what we love to do. And this is always what I've loved to do. So I think when I was a kid and I was playing in bands with my mates, and you have a dream of touring the world, but like you don't know what touring is.
Right.
You don't know that it means like living on a tour bus or spending ages at immigration or, you know, these real life things that come with touring.
Right.
You don't think about that as a kid, but what you think about is like how great it would be to play music every night and to see the world doing that. And we get to do that. So, yeah, you have days when you're like, man, I actually really don't feel like having a 9-hour drive to the next town.
Yeah.
But I'll take it, man, because at the other end, you get to play, and that's always the payoff for us. Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's what I think is the difference between many people that know that there is a payoff at the end. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all I think. Is there hope at the end of this? I mean, I didn't drive down here really to interview you thinking, well, this is going to suck. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just as something as small, relatively speaking, as this, right?
Yeah.
And you may have come into this because I'm sure you do X amount of interviews. You kind of go, okay, one more, and hope, but somewhere in you go, God, I hope this is worth my time, right? I mean, whatever it is.
I think there's always, you know, I do try to be positive, and to be honest with you, it's largely because I have a natural tendency to be negative.
Right.
So
same, dude.
I have to consciously be positive about things. But, you know, it's, I don't know. I mean, you get really tired on tour, and, you know, sometimes you get over the travel, and those things are all true. But at the end of the day, like, we love music more than anything else, and we believe that we're very fortunate to get to do this. Yeah. And so coming in to speak to someone in an interview about your music, I mean, it could be a lot worse.
Right.
Know?
Sure.
Someone's interested in like the art that you've created. They're interested in your perspective on things. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Solitary, or do I want to jump to Bitterness?
You tell me.
Okay, I want to jump to Bitterness because my favorite line on the whole record, not that I want to, you know, just because it's my personal favorite line, is because all they want to hear is I'm all right. I just thought that was just so entrenched in a lot of stuff you've already been talking about, what it is being normal and all that kind of stuff. But there's a part of the superficiality of whether it's the group around you or just people in general. It's almost like, you know, it's almost like they don't care, but they want to fake care.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I get from that line, and maybe so again, go into the whole song, I guess, but that particular line went.
That song is a song that my brother Kent wrote.
Okay.
And what's amazing about being in a band with other songwriters is when people send songs through and you just instantly relate to it. You know, it's one thing if it's a song that I wrote, because of course I relate to it. It's written about me. But Chris and Kent both do a lot of writing, so the bitterness Kent wrote, and he just sent the song through and kind of like complicated. The demo of the bitterness is almost identical to the version on the album, which for us is really unusual because we usually would push songs and see how far we can take them.
Yep.
But that song just really spoke to us, and it basically speaks to the realization of you realize that you're just negative and jaded about things, and it's a scary realization when you realize that what is normal to you is this kind of toxic attitude, because you're like, how long have I been like this for? Like, this is normal now.
Right.
And the bitterness is about wanting to, ultimately wanting to change, wanting to be more positive, wanting to see things in a positive way, because toxic negativity is not going to get you anywhere. And I think everybody does, but certainly, we have had moments in our career, you have insane ups and downs being in a band. And the ups are like, all your dreams are coming true, you can't believe it. And the downs are like the opposite of that, my dreams are over. And so we have dealt with a hell of a lot of struggle, just like every band has. Mm-hmm. And so the bitterness is about wanting to be able to move beyond that and not wanting to spend your whole life feeling negative about things.
It's just amazing that negativity can rule your life if you let it.
Oh, dude. Well, I think negativity for some reason is incredibly addictive.
Yeah.
Positivity, to me, always takes work. Positivity is like you're trying to retrain yourself on a daily basis to think or behave in a certain way. But negativity is like, it's like going to the fridge and on one side you've got a salad and on the other side you've got McDonald's.
Right.
Negativity is McDonald's.
Right.
You always want to gravitate towards it for some reason. Yeah. And I do think that, unfortunately, if you gravitate towards it for long enough, then you don't even realize you're doing it anymore. And negative equals normal. And when people say that so much of life is about attitude, they're right, man. You can have an awesome life, and if you have a shitty attitude about it, you're not going to appreciate anything.
I don't know how close we are, right? But when you said the reason I'm positive is because I know I'm so negative.
Yeah.
Or whatever you exactly said. And that is exactly how I feel about myself. It's so unbelievable how I know. Because I see negativity. You know how you see in others exactly what you don't like in yourself?
Exactly.
But I recognize that so much that I'm almost always on guard that I'm just not going to allow that crap to tip me over.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to, because I know how easy it could be to pull the curtains and watch Netflix for the next 3 days and keep going back to the fridge for the McDonald's and let the salad go bad.
Exactly.
And
that was very eloquent, by the way.
Very eloquent. Well, it just I think because like you said, it's like sometimes we wish we were simpler people, and it's like, and I see people that my sense is that they're simpler because it doesn't seem like anything really bothers them. Like, wait, that's not the way the world should work, and that person should have held the door open for that old lady or whatever.
Yeah.
But they didn't, because they were just so in. But it's like sometimes I wish I punched the clock at 7 o'clock and punched it at 3 o'clock and just went home and watched sports all night or whatever. I don't know. But again, that's...
I know exactly what you mean. I think for whatever reason, negativity is incredibly seductive. It's always easy to interpret something in the worst way. I'll put this in like in a way that every musician in the world can relate to, which is if you get 10 good album reviews and one bad one, you'll obsess about the bad one. You probably, at some point, will even forget about the good ones. So, for whatever reason, we're just drawn to that, So it's like if you don't make a conscious effort to drag yourself out of that, then it does just become normal. Your life just becomes this kind of frustrated, negative existence. And, you know, a lot of the songs on the record in different ways deal with that idea.
Right.
You know, so it's interesting to go back to what you said initially, like the music seems negative, but ultimately the message is very positive.
But has that been a fight for you that you feel like you need to explain? I guess because, you know, I'm older than you, and I'm thinking there was a time when, you know, when I think people thought rock music was sort of evil in general, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm finding so much light and hope and God in it, for lack of a better word, right?
Sure.
And it's like, and I'm going, you guys are all missing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's, you know, I think sometimes people, probably more so in the past than now, but, you know, people like to vilify things and blame, you know, you blame rock and roll for corrupting your kids.
Sure,
and it's like those kids were going to do that shit anyway. Right. It's not rock and roll's fault.
Right.
Because the kids, you know, and I think that people all deal with the same things. You know, rock and roll has this, has these themes of, you know, rebellion and chaos and confronting your demons, and I think that makes the world a better place. You know, I don't personally like the idea of everyone pretending like they're totally fine. Right. And just sort of repressing everything. I don't believe that leads to a good place for anybody. Right. And I don't believe it leads to a good place collectively. So, you know, rock and roll, heavy metal can get a bad rap, but I think that ultimately anybody who understands it sees that it's this tremendously positive outlet.
Well, what I think I've decided is, while you know how you were saying that you can tell when it's truth coming out of you, you know, and I really believe, and I think I can even hear that on a record. Now,
I think you can.
You know, but that said, I just wonder, I think there's probably music out there that I just don't connect with, and therefore I go, I just don't connect with it. But it isn't inherently, you know, like I don't love screamo stuff. I just don't love it.
Yeah.
You know, but I just don't connect with it. Now, it feels dark to me, but it doesn't mean it is dark.
Yeah.
But I also don't allow it to, I just don't spend time with it, because why should I?
Well,
you know, I want to spend time with something that you're doing or whatever else I'm listening to is doing, because it does somewhere inside me lift me up. Just because the screamo stuff lifts other people up, that's fine. You know
I mean, music, you know, music's incredibly subjective, and that's kind of one of the greatest things about it. It's like you can have a painting on the wall, you get 10 people in and ask them, is this painting good or not? I mean, who knows? You know? People respond to things and react to things in different ways. Yeah. And certainly as a musician, it's an interesting journey, because you don't want to stagnate, so you do want to be evolving. Yeah. And it is always interesting to see how people react to where your music goes. Yeah. But, you know, I think ultimately, music is a very subjective thing.
So does that adjust your art? I know I just interrupted you, and I don't like it when an interview does that. But does that adjust your art when you see the way people are reacting to a thing? You go, God, that was so part of my experience to put out there, and they're not reacting the way I thought. So does that adjust your art?
I don't know. No, it doesn't adjust your art. It might. The only thing it might make you think is, like, maybe what I was trying to say wasn't clear. You know, but it doesn't adjust our art, because ultimately it's about self-expression. You know, so if you have something to say musically or lyrically, and you say it in a way that has a lot of truth to you, then I mean that is what you wanted to say. Yeah. If people connect with it or not, that's their journey, you know? Yeah. And I think that's probably why it is so special when people do connect, because it is this very personal thing.
I think that's what I've finally come to a place where it's like, and I don't go to a lot of shows anymore, because I don't even know what else to say. I just don't want to. You know, because I love the record so much that I don't want to either be disappointed in it, or I don't want to fight the traffic. Right? Yeah. You know? But that said, when I'm at shows, it's almost like I want to say, everybody just shut up. Do you hear what he just sang? This is important. Right. But you know, but I feel like 80% of the people they just dig the music so much, and that's it. But maybe there's 20%, and I don't know what the percentages are. I'm making it all up, right? But maybe the 20% who are really getting it, that's just because they're on that level that to hear that at that moment, you know? And
yeah. I think in our experience, I think most people tend to connect with the lyrics, with what you're saying, and then just the way that the music makes them feel.
Yeah.
I think the smaller percentage is people who play guitar or play drums, and they're connecting to the music on a technical level. Like, man, that riff's so cool, the way you go from this fret to this fret, or some cool drumming thing Zach will do, and it's the way he does the double kick and he's playing the ride.
Yep.
That's how we relate to music because we're musicians. But I think for most people, they're relating to, on the broader level, what the song is saying to them, and how the song makes them feel. Because music is ultimately, it's a feeling thing. If a song makes you feel nothing, you probably aren't going to connect with it.
Yeah.
So it really is an emotional experience.
So Until the Day I Die, I guess the only thing I really jotted down around that, and I feel like sometimes I don't want to beat a dead horse, but this darkness that's all around us is pretty dang committed. So is that what that song's about, or is that?
That was actually another one that Kent wrote. And that, I think, really Kent wrote about us feeling like we had to leave New Zealand, where we grew up, to follow this dream that we have. It's really about the defiance of having a dream and what you have to go through to realize that. So the line, "I'll stand and fight until the day I die," is like, if you have this dream in the way that we did, you do get knocked down many times. Everyone has. And you just pick yourself up and you start again. And you pick yourself up and you start again. And so that song, of course, really spoke to Chris and I, because we've been on this journey where we grew up in this amazing country, but it's, on the other side of the world from most people, and unfortunately it's oceans away from where bands tour. So we felt like we had to leave that to follow this dream, and it's been this sort of crazy adventure of ups and downs. But every time you hit a wall, every time you get knocked down, you got to pick yourself up and keep moving forward.
Listen, I've heard that many times in my life, that you just pick yourself up and keep moving forward. But I got to tell you, sometimes I get pissed about it, right? Because it's just not that easy.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not easy. But I think ultimately, if you believe in what you're doing, then I think that's the most important thing.
Same sort of thing I put down with Bullet in the Head, right? I mean, yeah, and if you talk about the song, I guess, but I jotted down why is the negativity and why is darkness so magnetic, right? And like you said earlier, I don't know why it is, but it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Bullet in the Head is actually about a toxic relationship, and again, it's like, for some reason, you can be in a relationship that isn't any good, but you're kind of drawn. It's like an addiction, you're just drawn back into it over and over again. And so that was a different tangent on the theme of these things that you struggle with, being in a relationship that is actually incredibly destructive, but you keep going back again and again.
So am I wrong thinking that you guys are usually not writing about a relationship with boy-girl partner or partner? You know what I mean? Am I wrong? Or because sometimes it could be the relationship with an emotional feeling, if not your own business dealings. And
right. I think to us it's about expressing an emotion. And sometimes that emotion can be triggered by whatever relationship whatever you're going through at the time, but it's often not. So I think for us, like, we don't rule out songs about relationships because those trigger a lot of really meaningful emotions, and you have some people have incredible struggles because of their relationships. But for us, ultimately, it's about, you know, our lives as a whole and the experiences that we have. And our songs are our way of working through that.
Are you guys good? And I guess I think the three brothers, right? Because you guys are the one writing songs. Do you guys have a healthy enough relationship that you can say, dude, I don't think that's working right now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
I mean, not only do we write our own songs, but we produce our own records, which means you literally have to be able to put on that hat and go, is this good enough? Mm-hmm. Is this actually the vision that, you know, we've been trying to get out there? And so, yeah, we have, we're fortunate to have the kind of relationship where we can say both positive and constructively negative things to one another.
Yeah.
And that's all part of making music in this band.
So is Pure Evil to someone specific?
It's to a few different someones.
Okay.
Yeah. Pure Evil was a song lyrically that I started writing based on a few different things that I was seeing in the world at that time. Mm-hmm. And it just seemed to me that within sort of religious power systems and political power systems, there was this incredible hypocrisy where the people at the top would be built into sort of demigods who could do no wrong, and everyone's looking up to them, and, you know, we should be like this person. And then time and time again, scandal after scandal, the people who are supposed to be the best of the best are the worst of the worst. And it just seemed to me to be this universal hypocrisy within our society. And so, yeah, there were a few key people who inspired that song.
Yeah, I'm never sure anymore, because whether it's Catholic Church stuff or leadership in various countries, including, you know, the United States, I'm not sure if they can even see themselves. You know, I just think that change is just so hard that they might as well just keep moving along, because you don't want to rock that boat too much, because you got to the top somehow.
Right.
And you didn't do it by rocking boats and tipping them over, usually.
Yeah.
You know, so I just don't know. I mean, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but boy, it's really hard when I see.
Yeah, it is hard. I mean, I find that when it comes to things like that, I'm probably now quite cynical about it. You know, I generally feel that people who rise to the top of whatever power system it is, they've probably compromised some of their integrity along the way.
Yeah.
And sometimes that would be putting it lightly.
Yeah.
So, Pure Evil sort of explores that idea. And actually that was really cool, because we went around the world and people would come up and talk about, you know, people within their societies that they felt that song was about or that it related to. Yeah. And so that's when you see, okay, it's not an American problem or an English problem or whatever. This is a universal issue in human society.
Right. But I mean, I've interviewed enough artists that, and enough artists that have sort of been put up on a poster as you know, projecting evil out there.
Yeah.
And when I sit down with them, usually, whether they're huge believers in a religion or they're complete atheists, for the most part, they came to this place for a reason, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And it's like, I just wonder, again, if this super top people, same thing. They, you know, like you said, they might have had to compromise. Now, maybe you and I think they're throwing their integrity out into the river, but somewhere they've got to put their head on the pillow. That's what I always think.
Yeah,
Can you put your head on the pillow at night and feel good about the day you just lived?
I think that's a great way to look at it. I mean, there's that great quote by George Orwell, you know, all power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think you look at politics and religion, and I mean, how much of it is once people start to feel untouchable, they're beyond reproach, then it's quite shocking the way that people start to behave, you know? Yeah. So it's not so much as did that person start out as being evil or whatever, as what happens to people to those sorts of personality types who have that degree of ambition, and they get to a place when, as far as they're concerned, they're untouchable, and the hypocrisy that then we idolize those people, when in fact we should be saying, hey man, this is not at all the kind of thing that I thought was going on here.
Yeah.
And we do it over and over again.
Well, I wonder if, I think about how many movies are there, right, and songs and stuff about a specific person or a specific incident, and they rise to the top and they've compromised their life, and then they have I'll just say a come to Jesus sort of moment with themselves, and they figure out, and they just sort of surrender it all and get back to the basics, and in their acoustic guitar, now they're just going around the country with an acoustic guitar, right?
Yeah.
But somewhere in there, there's a system in place.
Oh yeah.
That sort of like, they're no longer a leader. They're trying to rediscover themselves. So we need to have somebody else come to the top. And system is a big, dark, very opaque thing, I believe.
Oh yeah. I mean, and people, the people who are interested in seeing that system continue are going to support people who reinforce what that system has to say.
Right.
So, aside from sort of revolutions, of course, if there are people who have an interest, whatever it may be, in seeing that system continue, then they are going to go, okay, well that person's no longer serving our agenda, so then we put the next one in. And that, unfortunately, is consistent throughout human history, and it's consistent across various religions and political systems, and so Pure Evil was just sort of, we were actually on tour at the time, and I was seeing a lot of different things in the media that I had a problem with, and that was my way of sort of working through that.
My thing is, like, I feel like I'm a pretty hopeful guy, and but I hardly have hope that those systems are going to change, and I guess I think the only way they're going to change is you write a song about it, somebody else makes a movie about it, somebody else speaks about it, somebody else has poetry about it, and sooner or later there's going to be an uprising, whether it's 2 years from now or 2,000 years from now, and we finally, quote unquote, overcome.
I think it's kind of like people talking about the issues that they deal with internally as well. You have to have that moment of realization, and so for me, Pure Evil was one of those moments where you're like, actually, this is insane. These people are being built into superhuman almost godlike status, and then not only should they being revered, people should be very seriously looking at what these people are getting up to, the corruption and all kinds of stuff's going on. So I think a big part of it is just to be aware of it, to be aware of the fact that there are these systems in place, and that these people are not gods, and they're not speaking for the everyman. They're very disconnected from the average person, and as a result, they're getting away with murder. So I think a big part of it is just trying to be aware of it.
I guess what I've always hoped is never to become cynical, right? But I do think it's important to be skeptical.
Absolutely.
And I don't even want to live that way, but I have to live that way in today's world,
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think you have to be able to question things, and I know what you mean about cynicism, because you don't want to just question everything for the sake of it.
Yeah.
But if something doesn't feel right to you, I think it's important to be able to question that and to ask yourself, what is it about the situation that doesn't feel right? Yeah. And that is, I think, a theme that runs throughout our music, whether it's this sort of introverted looking within yourself and what doesn't feel right, or looking at society in general, like Pure Evil, and saying, well, what's, this situation feels very wrong to me. What is it about this that feels wrong? Yeah. So, I totally agree.
Man, Matt, thanks for the time, dude.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. This has been an awesome interview.
Yeah, this has been fun for me. So.